Hey, my friends. Okay, so I'm going to try this IGTV. I wanted to talk about a concept that's been coming up a lot for my clients that I think you're going to really, it's going to help for a lot of you, especially those of you who've been listening to the podcast. So, one of the things that we talk about a lot at First Year Married is that our thoughts create our feelings, right? Our feelings come from our thoughts. Now, here's just a really easy way to, illustrate that. I might have a lot of things on my to-do list, right? And the night before, I might be like, this is going to be amazing. Tomorrow, I'm going to get everything done. And I feel like excited. And then I wake up the next morning and all of a sudden I look at it. I'm like, this is impossible. I'm never going to manage. And I feel anxious and overwhelmed, right? So the different thoughts actually created a different feeling, a different emotional reaction to the exact same list of words. The fact that it was the next day really didn't make a difference. I could have had either thought at either time. Yeah. So when I have a thought, and a lot of us know that, right? We know the benefit of positive thinking and how important positive thinking is. And one of the places that I see that a lot of people get stuck is that they understand that. And then they get into what I call thought perfectionism, right? Which is that I am trying to push out all those bad thoughts as if there's such a thing. And I'm trying to only think the good thoughts, right? Especially if you're a newlywed and this has to do with your husband, right? We are so scared in the beginning of any negative thoughts about our husband because we take our thoughts very seriously. One of the things I like to remind us is that a thought is just electrical activity in the brain. It's nothing more. And sometimes your brain wants to suggest something completely ridiculous to you, and that's totally fine. So the thing that we need to be able to do is teach our brains, teach ourselves that our feelings aren't dangerous, right? Because here's the thing, even if you do manage to change your thought, right? Even if you do, the model maybe, or some of the things that I teach in coaching, or it from other coaches, you've got a new thought and it's believable and it's true for you and it's so much more empowering, but you still have that lingering anxiety or that lingering frustration or resentment or whatever you were feeling before still in your system. Right? Just because your thought changes doesn't mean that your feeling magically changes. You kind of have the new feeling, but it's like you're not quite done with the old one, right? And that is why we have to learn to process and allow our feelings. Okay, this sounded very hippy dippy to me when I first heard it, and I was very resistant, but it works, so I'm okay. So here's the thing. What we do is we get scared of our feelings because we associate whatever feeling we had with the behavior that it triggered in the past. Okay. So like, I remember that the last time I felt angry, I was really rude to my husband. I don't want to be rude to my husband. So if I start to notice anger in myself, I panic and I try to push away the anger. I try to get rid of the anger. I'm resisting all that anger. Right. And what I want you to know is that the anger can't actually provoke any action. It's only when you're trying to get rid of the anger or solve for the anger that you do it. For instance, if I'm feeling angry because my husband said something and I think that's offensive or rude, and I yell at him, it's because I'm so uncomfortable being angry that I'm trying to fix the thing that I'm blaming for my anger, right? In that moment, I'm not seeing that I created the anger with the way that I interpreted what he said. I'm blaming him for my anger, right? I'm giving him total control over that. And I'm trying to change him by getting mad at him so I don't have to feel anger anymore. But imagine if you felt anger and it wasn't a problem. Imagine if you felt anger and you just noticed it as a physical sensation in your body that didn't have to be solved for. Well, then you wouldn't need to yell at your husband. You wouldn't need to go call a friend. You wouldn't need to spin out in the whole story. You would just be able to tune into your body, notice the feeling, and it would just be there. Kind of like sometimes you wake up with like a crank in your neck, right? It's just there. It's not necessarily such a problem. Right? So one of the most important things that we have to do when we're working on all of this, when we're working on our positive thinking, is learning to become comfortable with the full range of human emotion. They're all fine. Even if it's frustration at your husband that you just married last week, it's all good. It's totally fine to feel all those things. They're just coming from your thoughts. And when you allow yourself to feel them, what you're going to see is that they're going to process through you and move along their merry way much more quickly than if you try to resist them and get rid of them. So another piece of this that I think is where this comes up a lot is that with a lot of newlyweds, you know, there are not only some pretty intense thoughts, because now everything that you've been dealing with is now forever, which feels a lot more heavy. But for a lot of newlyweds, there's also some pretty raging hormones, right? You might have the infatuation cocktail going in your head. Some of you are on birth control for the first time. There's some major, major changes that are happening for you hormonally. Plus, you're not, you know, postmenopause. So you most likely, right? So a lot of you are still dealing with hormones, which are going to make all of those feelings a little bit more colorful, a little more intense, all those thoughts more colorful and intense. And again, none of it needs to be a problem. We don't want to get scared of our feelings. We don't want to try and avoid them. This is what so many times we make decisions to try to avoid the uncomfortable feeling. We make this, and I've been there. I still catch myself doing it sometimes, but we try to like, how do I stay out of this uncomfortable feeling? How do I like navigate my life with this sort of bumper car reality of emotional safety? And that's coming from a place of forgetting that our feelings can't hurt us. Our feelings are totally safe to feel. We're going to be fine. And the more that you plug in and allow yourself to just notice the physical sensation of each feeling, the more your brain is going to start to realize that those feelings aren't hurting you. All right. So I hope that was helpful for you. By the way, newlyweds, I am launching a newlywed mastermind. I am only taking 10 women, and spots are already filling up for a small, intimate group coaching program. So if you've been wanting to take this work, to work with me and then work with a group of amazing, dedicated other women to work on improving your life, truly growing in your marriage, glowing in your marriage, really learning these tools in a very deep way, you've really got to join us. Okay. So send me a message or email. Actually, just go to firstyearmarried.com. There is an application right there on the website. Just click on Work with Kayla. I can't wait to have you in the mastermind in February.